Right, and here we are, back for day 2. It's not as late this time, it's 7:05. I've just had my dinner. But I thought I might as well get this started and uploaded, because by the time... Yesterday took 3 hours to upload, which meant for me it uploaded at midnight, for you it uploaded at 2 AM. So, we'll get started. So I finished on page 10 yesterday. I know, 20-minute video, only read to page 10, what the fuck. And so far what's happened is Sharp and... Give me a second. I think it's Harper. Sharp and Harper? Is that what he was called? Bollocks. What was he called? What was he called? Was he Harper? Sharp and... Sharp and friend. Sharp and some other dude. Hold on, I need to find out now. Harper, yeah, Sharp and Harper. Where they just finished a battle in Waterloo, and they were burying one of their friends called Dan. And whilst burying, they got somebody called B to come over to give a prayer, and someone called Burrell, who was a lieutenant corporal or something like that, has come over and said the Duke wants to see Sharp. And they're currently riding to meet the Duke, and that's where we are. So, we also just found out that Sharp actually took a friendly fire shot at a prince, apparently the Prince of Orange, I think it was. I don't understand what the Prince of Orange means. Yeah, the Prince of Orange. Unless Orange is a place in France, I don't know. But anyway, let's get started. That's a rough start. Captain Burrell showed Pat Harper the door, which led to the kitchens, assuring the big Irishman there would be food and drink. Then led Sharp through a maze of corridors. The Duke is in the library, he told Sharp as he rapped on a large door. A stern voice responded, and Burrell accompanied Sharp into the library that was lit by a huge north-facing window. The walls were lined with shelves holding leather-bound books, and the Duke was seated at a round table covered in papers. But most worrying, Rebecca was seated beside him. We don't know who that is. Baron Rebecca was a good man, who had it's spelt Rebecque. So a guy called Rebecca. Baron Rebecca was a good man who served as the Prince of Orange's chief aide and advisor. He smiled as Sharp entered, nodding a greeting. The Duke, however, looked at Sharp coldly and grunted his name. Your Grace? Sharp responded awkwardly, wishing he had taken time to shave before leaving the battalion. Rebecca tells me the Prince of Orange will live. That's good news, Your Grace. The wound is clean, Sharp, Rebecca said. Though His Highness is still in considerable pain, but the surgeons are certain he will recover. I'm glad, said Sharp. Are you, Sharp? The Duke demanded. Of course, sir. The ball was one of ours, the Duke said. Rifle caliber. The French don't use that size ball. They use captured ammunition, my lord, Sharp said, and a rifle ball fits their musket almost exactly. Then how do you explain the scrap of leather found around the bullet? The French don't wrap the French won't wrap a bullet. They won't, my lord, but I remember that the prince was wearing a leather strap over his shoulder. It was probably from that strap. In fact, he was sure of that, because in his haste, Sharp had not wrapped the bullet in its greased leather patch, which might explain why it struck too high. But our patches burn up, my lord. He knew he had called the Duke Your Grace, and he had found it awkward. He knew he should call the Duke Your Grace, but he found it awkward. We asked, Colonel, Rebecca said gently, because you were seen on the slope beneath the prince's position shortly before he was wounded. I was there, sir. I went to help Major Dunnett's riflemen, who were fighting the French, the Duke said pointedly. Of course, my lord. Of course, said the Duke, and gazed at Sharp for a silent few seconds. So you don't know who fired the shot that almost killed His Royal Highness? There were scores of Voltigeurs there, my lord. Could have been any one of them. It could indeed, the Duke said. And I think we're done here, Rebecca. Your men will march mid-morning. Of course, Your Grace. Rebecca stood and collected some papers, presumably the marching orders. It's good to see you, Sharp, Rebecca said. Then he left the library. A bullet in the shoulder, the Duke said, which means the young fool off the battlefield which takes the young fool off the battlefield and stops him from committing more idiocies, but doesn't kill him. I would call that a very fine shot indeed. Pure bad luck for the prince, my lord. There are a lot of Volskyrs firing up that slope. As I said, a very fine shot, because we know it was Sharp. Was there a trace of a smile in the Duke's face? If so, it vanished quickly. How's your battalion? As good can be expected, my lord. Casualties? Too many, my lord. We buried 186 men. The Duke flinched at the figure. And officers? 5 killed, my lord. 8 are still in surgeon's hands. The Duke grunted. You lost a major in Quatre-Bras. Major Micklewhite, my lord. Because of that young fool's incompetence, the Duke said bitterly, talking of William, Prince of Orange. Who's the other major? We don't have one, my lord. Major Vine died yesterday. You have acquitted replacements? No, my lord. Peter Dalbord is our best man, but he was wounded. Sharp needed a good major to be his second in command, but both the battalion's majors were dead, and he doubted any of the surviving company commanders were ready for the higher rank. He had taken Captain Jefferson from the light company and put him in charge of the grenadiers. Pardon me. Put him in charge of the grenadiers, hoping they would give him more experience, and put Harry Price in charge of the light company. But he had doubted either man would know how to fight the battalion as a single unit. Peter Delaborde is my best captain, my lord. But you say he's wounded. He's hors de combat. Pity. Then I'd better find someone, the Duke said. Probably not by tomorrow. Probably not by tomorrow, Sharp. And you march down at dawn tomorrow. Yours will be the first battalion on the line of march. An honour, my lord. Again, the Duke grunted. Don't count on it, Sharp. Look at this map. He unfolded a vast map that he had spread across the table, and half turned towards Sharp, who moved to the Duke's side. The Prussians are marching south as well. The Prussians? I'm going to say the Prussians, but I could be wrong, the Duke said, sounding disgruntled. They'll take the easternmost route, while we march to the west. Here. He put a finger down on a town called Mons. We cross the border just south of Mons. Next town is Valenciennes. Valenciennes? I'm going to butcher all of these French names, by the way, just giving you a heads up. Next town is Valenciennes, garrisoned. But if they don't trouble us, we won't trouble them. Then Peronne, another fortress, and note this road, Sharp. The finger moved south and east of Peronne to a town called Ham. Ham, sir? As in eggs. You're going here with your battalion? Yes, sir, Sharp said, for want of anything else to say. There's a citadel in Ham, Sharp. You capture it. The Duke rapped out these last 3 words, then fell silent. What do you know of the citadel, my lord? Damn all. It's ancient, I do know that, and it's almost certainly garrisoned, and Bonaparte has been using it as a prison. That's why you're going, to free the prisoners. Sharp peered at the map and saw the direct route to Paris from Peronne went well to the west of Ham. I assume, my lord, that the rest of the army doesn't go to Ham. It does not. From Peronne we march straight on to Paris, but there might be Prussians in Ham. The place is so close to the line of march, but the prisoners come to me, Sharp. Of course, my lord. Sharp hesitated. And the prisoners? Do we know who they are? They're whoever irritated Bonaparte enough to shut them away, the Duke said unhelpfully. But we know of at least one Englishman there, and he's the fellow you bring back. Yes, sir. I'm sending an officer with you, Sharp. Major Vincent. He speaks German and French, and he knows the prisoner we want. Listen to him. He's capable. He's one of the best exploring officers. You're familiar with them? I am, my lord, Sharp said. Exploring officers were men who rode fast, well-bred horses. Exploring officers were men who rode fast, well-bred horses behind the enemy lines to scout the positions and strength. Vincent has been to hand before, the Duke went on, so he'll be valuable to you. But he won't interfere with your conduct of the battle, and you'll make the battle fast. Understand me, Sharp? Fast. The French are more than capable of executing their captives, so you have to be in there quick. Then they can line. So you have to be in there quicker than they can line them up against a wall. I will, my lord, Sharp said, wondering how the hell he was supposed to capture a fortress. He had no cannon, so could not batter it down, and from all the Duke had just said, there would be not enough time to make ladders and escalade the citadel walls. Where and when shall Major Sorry, this is Sharp speaking now. Sorry, this is actually the Duke. Where and when shall Major Vincent meet you tomorrow? The Duke demanded. 4:30 a.m., Sharp said, at Hotel... What the fuck does that say? Blezenbeek. You're staying in the city overnight? The question was reprimand, suggested Sharp for choosing comfort over duty. I am, my lord, but the battalion will be ready. Make sure it is. You'll inform Major Vincent? The Duke inquired of Captain Burrell, who had been listening. Of course, Your Grace. March hard and fast, Sharp. Don't let me down. Of course not, my lord. Show Colonel Sharp out, Burrell. The captain escorted Sharp to the front door where Harper waited and where he offered to shake hands. I wish I were going with you, Colonel. It's a fool's errand, Sharp said, but it shook Burrell's offered hand. Hotel Blezenbeek, 4:30. I'll tell Major Vincent, sir. Burrell watched the rifleman mount his captured horse, then returned to the library where the Duke was standing in the street window, evidently watching Sharp. He's a remarkable-looking fellow, don't you think, Burrell? To quote you, Your Grace, I don't know what he does to the enemy, but by God he frightens them. Ha! The Duke said without a trace of amusement. Did he make any comment? He said it was a fool's errand, Your Grace. And so it is, Burrell, so it is. Sharp's no fool. He's a rogue. Ah! A damned rogue, but he's my rogue. He also has the devil's own luck and he wins his fights. And pray God he wins this one. And otherwise, the Duke's voice trailed away, because the alternative was unthinkable. Captain Burrell hesitated, then dared offer the Duke advice. You could send another battalion, Your Grace. You mean send a gentleman instead of a scoundrel? Maybe an officer with more experience, Your Grace. Ha! The Duke snorted. Sharp's no gentleman, and he has more experience in battle than any other colonels put together. No, for this job we don't need a gentleman. We need a ruthless bastard. And just pray he wins, Burrell. Just pray he wins. That is 10 pages. I'm going to quickly stop this recording and see how long it is. If it's longer than 15 minutes, then I'll stop there. But if it's not, I will keep going. I love you. It's not quite 15 minutes. We'll keep reading. I'm fairly sure this chapter ends in about 2 pages. That was yeah, the chapter ends in another page and a half. So we'll just keep going. Sharp sent Harper south again, taking orders from the Prince of Wales' own volunteers. Must be ready. Let me start that again. Sharp sent Harper south again, taking orders that the Prince of Wales' own volunteers must be ready to march at dawn. And I mean ready, Pat. As soon as I get there tomorrow, we march. They'll be ready. And we don't wait for the rest of the army, Sharp said. We go at dawn and we go on our own. Us against France. The wounded have to stay behind. The bandsmen stay with them. And if anyone argues with you, tell them it's the Duke's orders. Pat Harper had no true authority, other than his size and his reputation. He had left the army after the victories in southern France and had gone home to his beloved Dublin, but the Emperor's return from Elba had brought Harper to Sharp's side. At least the officers in the Prince of Wales' own volunteers recognised his worth. So I get the feeling the Prince of Wales' own volunteers is actually like their own military, basically, because it's all in caps. In capital letters, I mean. He had been the battalion's regimental fucking hell. The battalion's regimental maybe I should have stopped this recording. Fucking hell. He had been the battalion's regimental sergeant major, and though he was now officially a civilian, he wore his uniform jacket, and everyone in the battalion knew he spoke for Sharp. Who found his way to a cheap hotel where he had taken rooms for Lucille. That feels like it's skipped the page, but it's still talking about Sharp. He half expected she might be with a friend she had made in Brussels, the Dowager Countess of Mouburgis, an elderly Frenchwoman who was a fierce supporter of Napoleon, but who had nevertheless taken Lucille under her generous wing. Madame is here. Madame is here. Jeanette the maid opened the door and offered Sharp a courtesy. How are you, Jeanette? We are all well, monsieur. The baby. He eats, he sleeps, he demands food. You look tired, Sharp said, using French. I'm not doing a French accent, especially because this guy's Irish. It'll be an Irish accent mixed with French. Absolutely not. You too, monsieur. Sharp smiled. The English have a saying, Jeanette, no rest for the wicked. The English would certainly know about that, monsieur. He laughed. He went into the bedroom and opened He went into the bedroom that opened off a small hallway. Lucille, sitting up in bed, looked pleased, but put a finger to her lips. Patrick is sleeping. Patrick was her son, and like Sharp, born out of a wedlock. Sharp bent over the crude cot, made from a fruit basket, and touched a gentle finger on the baby's cheek, and sat on the bed and kissed Lucille. This is a surprise, she said. The Duke wanted to see me. And the battle? She gripped him fiercely. Was it bad? The worst I've been through. You don't want to know. And the Emperor is gone? He's gone, Sharp said. He kissed her again, marvelling as ever at her delicate beauty and his own good fortune for finding her. Bonnie's running south as fast as his legs can carry him. So we can go home? Sorry, the backing of the book keeps sliding down. Paris first, then home. And no more soldiering. What did the Duke want? She sounded wary. Marching orders, love. We leave tomorrow. You go to Paris? He nodded. Then we come too, she said. The Countess wants to go home. You can't come with us, Sharp said. We're marching at the front of the army. There'll be a crowd of carriages in the army's baggage train. You'll be safe there. And tonight? You're not safe tonight, Sharp said. I'm coming to bed. Tell me there'll be no more fighting, Lucille said some time later. There'll be no more fighting, Sharp said. Truly? Not much more fighting, Sharp said, hoping he was right. We beat the bastard. Now we just have to sweep up the pieces, including whatever pieces waited at Ham, a citadel that Sharp had to capture, and he had no idea how. And that is the end of chapter 1. We should be about... I want to say 18 minutes into this video. So I am going to start sorting that out, and I'm going to start rendering on YouTube, and hopefully it posts before you go to bed. So I've got Minecraft loaded up. So I'm going to be... Hell yeah. So I'm going to be playing that while it loads. So, yeah. I'm not sure what you're up to now. Last time you messaged me, it was just a selfie of your very sunburnt self in bed. Tell me about the damn quad bike. I want to know where you've been, what you've been up to. Have you tried any Greek cuisine? But anyway, I need to start recording. I need to start uploading this video. But I love you.